Welcome to Coyote News. The movie Catch Me If You Can is based on the life of Frank Abagnale. Abagnale now works for the FBI and he'll be speaking at USD.
Also, how the periodic table influences history, finance, and mythology, and which Vermilion businesses are teaming up to give back to the community. And
another USD professor is garnering national attention for academic excellence. But first, the headlines. Lene?
The Trayvon Martin case took a big turn today. George Zimmerman's been arrested and he's charged with second-degree murder. That comes just a day after his attorneys announced they were no longer in touch with Zimmerman. The lawyers portrayed the former neighborhood watch captain as erratic and his mental state as shaky. Rick Santorum cleared the way for Mitt Romney to claim victory in the battle for the Republican presidential nomination. Santorum gave up his Against All Odds campaign as Romney's conservative rival. His withdrawal set up what's sure to be a tough 7-month fight for the presidency between Romney and President Barack Obama. Santorum had been facing a possible loss in the April 24th Pennsylvania primary. UCLA is apologizing for mistakenly telling 894 high school seniors they were admitted to the university when they were actually still on the waiting list. The Los Angeles Times reports the university sent an email about financial aid awards to students last week. The emails also congratulated students on being admitted. When the school noticed the mistake on Monday, it sent messages to the students saying they were placed on the admission waiting list. The note also included an apology. A UCLA spokesperson attributed the mix-up to human error.
Thanks, Lene. Last week, Associate Athletic Director David Herbster was selected as a finalist for a position at Winona State University. This week, USC Provost Chuck Staben became a finalist in the search for president's position at Wichita State University. Staben is the second of 5 finalists who spoke this month at the Wichita campus. WSU is expected to announce their new president in May. One local business is saying thanks for all the community support they've been receiving. Red Steakhouse opened last year. The restaurant hosted a fundraiser last week for a local charity. Marketing manager Evie Clerk says the event was a way to give back.
This is our first inaugural Mingle event, and it's a fundraising event that we've decided to organize to help benefit local community charities. Every year we'll put on a Mingle and align with a charity group within the local community.
This year, Red chose to raise money for the Dakota Hospital Foundation. Foundation Director Mary Merrigan says she's excited to work with Red.
We were thrilled to partner with them, and what the funds will be used for from this evening will be to add another OB delivery suite in the hospital here in Vermilion.
The evening was filled with wine, food, and a silent auction. Clerk says that Red plans to make this an annual event with a different charity each year.
Every year we'll have a Mingle, so we'll be partnering with another group next year, try to help them raise some funds to help the Vermilion community. That's really what we're about. Vermilion has been great to Red Steakhouse since we have opened our doors. We want to be able to do something to help the community and help it flourish a little bit, and then have a little fun while we're here.
Merrigan says the event was a success.
A USD professor is getting national attention this week. Political science assistant professor Eric Jepson is the recipient of a 9-month Fulbright Fellowship for research and lecturing at Kerala University in India. The fellowship's awarded by the U.S. Department of State and the J. William Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board. The award provides Jepson with an opportunity to conduct research for his book project tentatively titled Kerala in the Economic Reform Era, Ideas, Institutions, and Interest Groups. Anyone who's seen the film Catch Me If You Can may remember the name Frank Abagnale. He's a former criminal who impersonated multiple occupations and passed $2.5 million in fraudulent checks. He went to jail and then he went to work for the FBI. Now Coyote News' Chris Jessen says Abagnale's coming to campus.
From white-collar criminal to FBI consultant, Abagnale has led what some might call an interesting life.
I've always looked at my life, and I know that people are fascinated by what I did with my life as a teenage boy between 16 and 21. I'm 63 years old now. I've always looked back on my life and kind of just bypassed that, thinking that was really just a fluke, something I did. What's amazing to me is that I did those things, and then where my life went after that.
Now, Abagnale will be speaking on campus about his own redemption and about how students might avoid being victims of white-collar crime. Associate Dean of the Business School, Tom Davies, says Abagnale will be here as part of the Business School's Ethics Speaker Series. Davies says Abagnale's story about redemption can be a good lesson for students.
I think he's learned from his mistakes. The idea is that hopefully our students won't make mistakes, but if they do, you know, at least there's some hope. Director of Criminal Justice Studies, Steve Feimer, teaches a white-collar crime class, and Abagnale is one of the former criminals he talks about. Feimer says he thinks it's a great idea to bring Abagnale and others like him to campus.
I think that any time that you can bring the reality, in this case white-collar crime, into campus and let students see firsthand and to visit with these folks, I think it's a immensely powerful tool.
Feimer says he's excited to see the reaction on students' faces after the event. Abagnale's presentation will be April 16th at Al's Auditorium, starting at 7 p.m. Catch it if you can. For Coyote News, I'm Chris Jessen.
Thanks, Chris. The business school will be showing Catch Me If You Can at Beacom Auditorium on April 12th, 13th, and 14th at 7 p.m. Coming up, the Missouri River Institute hosted a conference last week that revealed how much last year's flooding affected South Dakota. And we'll tell you which best-selling author is making his way to the USD campus.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late.
If you came in late, you can watch anything you missed on our YouTube channel.
The 2011 record flood on the Missouri River was the subject of many presentations at last week's Missouri River Research Symposium. Presenters were from the National Park Service, Nebraska Game and Parks, South Dakota's Environment and Natural Resources Department, and area universities. Posters highlighted their research. Much of it was connected with last year's flood. The next Missouri River Lecture Series will be held April 26th through the 28th at Ponca State Park.
A South Dakota native who's also a Science magazine writer will be talking about how the periodic table has affected human history. Renowned author Sam Keene is the keynote lecturer for the 2012 meeting of the South Dakota Academy of Science. He'll discuss the elements in relations to finance, mythology, the arts, and medicine. Keene's been featured on Radiolab and NPR's All Things Considered. He'll deliver his address Friday night at 7:30 in the Muck Ballroom. Dr. Robert Perry has worked for the USD School of Medicine for over 3 decades. Recently, he announced his plans to retire this June. Kelly Stewart says he's reflecting on his time at the university in this week's Yote Report.
President Abbott said that Dr. Perry's vision, leadership, and commitment have helped shape the lives of students and health professionals of all disciplines. For Perry, his 36 years with USD have been nothing short of an honor.
I've enjoyed the opportunity to work with so many different people. I've had the opportunity to travel the state, to work with people at our campus in Rapid and Yankton, Vermilion, as well as Sioux Falls. I've gotten to know the scientists in Vermilion. They're really great people, they're very committed to science, and so that's been fantastic. And I've gotten to know some of the students.
Perry was dean when the Andrew E. Lee Medical School was built. He said it had a great impact on the medical school program as well as the university.
I think the new medical school gave a presence to the medical school at the university, and I think that was the most important part of it. But the building's fantastic. What I think is really the best, though, is the fact that people from all over South Dakota came together to raise the money for that building. We had hospitals, we had physicians, we had people who are just interested in health provide dollars. So it was a wonderful opportunity to bring people together in order to be successful.
The students have always been the most enjoyable part of his job.
One of the disadvantages of being dean of the medical school is the fact that you're in Sioux Falls and you're not in Vermilion, so you can't enjoy the day-to-day activities of the campus. And so I think that probably is what I miss the most. But I have many, many wonderful memories. And I have a sense of pride every time I go down there. The campus is beautiful, the buildings are beautiful. It's just a neat school.
So what does he plan to do with his newfound free time? Perry said his answer changes every time.
This particular time, I think I'm just going to enjoy my grandchildren and my gardening and those things. I think that's a safe answer.
Perry said dancing and spending time with his wife could also be on the agenda, but for now, he said it's time to let someone else show what they can do as dean. For the Yote Report, I'm Kelly Stewart.
Thanks, Kelly. In this week's Coyote blog, John Hines encourages students to drink differently.
Vermilion has a culture of binge drinking. When asked what there is to do in Vermilion, many USD students' first thought is consuming alcohol. I'm not opposed to people having a good time, but some of the behavior I see is downright scary. Getting blackout drunk isn't something people should be proud of, it's something to be afraid and ashamed of. The best blackout scenario is a bit of embarrassment, but it easily turns into a hospital or police visit, or worse. It's no wonder students think drinking a lot is better than drinking a little. All the cheapest beers, wines, and liquors come in the largest packages. But what these beverages try to make up for with quantity is a lack of quality. I challenge those who choose to legally consume alcoholic beverages to reach for something that doesn't come in a 30-pack. Enjoy a quality microbrew, a bottle of wine, or a top-shelf liquor for a change. In the morning, you might even remember what it tasted like. For Coyote Blog, I'm John Hines.
Thanks, John. Coming up, Taylor Moore has had it with an NBA player. And Fashion Week is coming to Vermilion.
Excuse me, ma'am, what is this?
Obstacle course training. It's how we prepare our staff to get you the news first. Not bad. The Blonde, first to the news, first to you. The student's voice for 125 years.
For the 11th consecutive year, USD students in free enterprise will be competing at nationals. SIFE qualified this year by giving a presentation on its projects, including Coyote. The event supplies up to half of all the food in the Vermilion food pantry that it receives.
Making it to nationals is absolutely amazing. Not only do you get to show other teams and schools and CEOs what we're doing in our communities, in our state, in our region, but we get to see what other SIFE teams do.
SIFE has also been working with Tom's Shoes and charitable organizations to collect and distribute 7,000 pairs of shoes to South Dakota Indian reservations. The SIFE National Competition will be held in Kansas City on May 22nd.
If you're a fashion guru or just have an interest in clothes, you might want to be at the Alves Auditorium Friday night. The women of Kappa Alpha Theta sorority will be hosting a fashion show. Catwalk is a charity fashion show featuring Ava Morgan styles. All proceeds from the event will go to help court-appointed special advocates, or CASA. The night will include a runway show with models from the 4 USD sororities, a reduce, reuse, and recycle best outfit contest, a silent auction, and a presentation from a CASA representative. Catwalk begins Friday night at 7 in the Alves Auditorium. See What I'm Saying, the Deaf Entertainers documentary, made its South Dakota debut in Farber Hall yesterday. The American Sign Language Club was given the unique opportunity to screen the award-winning documentary that follows 4 celebrity entertainers in the deaf community. It's the first American film to be open captioned for the country's 30 million deaf and hard of hearing viewers. The film has screened in over 100 cities around the world. The ASL Club raised over $200 towards its mission to increase awareness of American Sign Language and deaf culture in South Dakota.
The Board of Regents recently increased the tuition rates at the state's universities. Coyote News' Cassie Bartlett is live at the Muck with Provost Chuck Staben to find out what the increase means for USD and for students.
Thanks, Jerry. USD students will see about a 7% increase starting this summer for tuition rates. Mr. Staben, why did the Board of Regents decide to do this increase?
I think they did this increase so that they could provide more resources so that the university can continue to provide excellent education to our students.
So what will this mean for USD students?
Well, for USD students, obviously, it's an increase in cost, and we're sorry that that's the case. We're very concerned that students have access to the university and that they graduate with as low a debt as possible. Many of our students do graduate with debt. We appreciate that. At the same time, we do need the financial resources to ensure the quality of education that we want our students to receive.
Are there any options for maybe more academic scholarships for students, or will they have to rely on federal funding and loans to cover the costs?
As you probably know, the state of South Dakota has an unusual situation where they have very limited state scholarship funding, and most of the scholarship funding our students receive is federal and institutional. The institutional scholarships come almost exclusively from donors, and that's an important source, but it's one that is limited.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Staben. Once again, USD students will be facing a 6.9 tuition increase next year. Other state institutions are facing it as well. For Coyote News Live, I'm Cassie Bartlett.
Thanks, Cassie. Technology advances have made life easier for college students, but not everyone's a fan of bringing cell phones and laptops into the classroom. Tech devices have made communicating with large classes easier, but some professors struggle with outside technology, saying it takes a toll on students' attention span. Assistant Professor Raymond O'Jenna says there's a strict no cell phone or computer policy in his classroom, and for him, it's made a big difference.
I have noticed better class grades. I've noticed students being more involved in what is actually happening in class. The difference has been very, very noticeable. And overall grades have actually improved in some of these classes from one semester to the next.
While students may feel they're successful multitaskers by searching the web, texting, and listening during class, Jenna's class grades have shown that students may not be as good at multitasking as they think.
Sports with Diana Johnson and Mandy Ewald is up next. Also, how the Division I transition affects student athletes, and more sports.
Today on Coyote Sports, USD's athletes have more responsibilities now that they're Division I.
Two Coyotes received Summit League Player of the Week honors, and commentator Taylor Moore says professional athletes need to respect the game. But first, sports headlines. Lene?
Thanks, Diana. An MLB club has suspended their manager after he said he admired dictator Fidel Castro. Marlins manager Ozzie Guillen is suspended for 5 games. Guillen apologized to Miami citizens yesterday, saying he doesn't admire Castro, he's just surprised he's been in power for so long. Bubba Watson won his first major event Sunday at the Masters, but now his driver is making headlines. Watson uses a pink-colored driver, and Ping announced it'll be selling 5,000 limited edition pink drivers. The company says it'll donate 5% of the club's price to Watson's fundraising campaign for various charities. Their women's basketball team just won a national championship, but Baylor University's basketball programs are now under investigation. Led by the NCAA, the investigations found more than 1,200 impermissible texts and phone calls from coaches. The NCAA is calling the incidents major violations because of their frequency. And those are your sports headlines.
Thanks, Lene. 2 USD athletes have earned Summit League Player of the Week honors. Track and field sophomore Cody Schneider received the recognition after winning the discus event with a throw that is 10th in the nation this year. Freshman Morgan Hancock earned the title for softball. Last week, Hancock had 2 home runs and 5 RBIs.
The women's tennis team finished their season with a big win over Valparaiso. The Coyotes won 2 of the 3 double matches Monday and swept Valparaiso in singles. 5 players finished with more than 20 wins in singles this year.
USD's transition to Division I is requiring more out of student athletes in the classroom. As I found out earlier this week, there are new requirements that student athletes must follow. Academically, degree percentage markings are the difference between being a Division I and Division II student athlete. By Division I standards, athletes at the end of their sophomore year are required to have 40% of their degree finished. Every semester after that, the number goes up by 20%. Athletic Academic Advisor Becky Jensen says this requirement helps keep student athletes on track with their degrees.
But some schools, I think it became an issue where kids would all of a sudden be graduating at the end of their 4th or 5th year and they wouldn't have a degree program. And so those markers that they put in at the Division I level are to prevent that from happening.
Jensen says trying to maintain these percentages might also cause a problem.
It does make it very difficult, however, for athletes who maybe want to change their major, midway through, like a normal student.
The average USD women's athlete's GPA is a 3.3, while the men's is a 3.0. Both are well above the Division I standard of a 2.0. When it comes to the classroom, senior volleyball player Carol Legato says school must come first in order for her to do what she loves.
Because if I don't do well in class, I can't play, So you have to find that motivation to go to school. Because sports are like my life. I love that. So if I don't do well in school, I can't play what I like. I can't do what I like to do,
For Coyote News, I'm Diana Johnson. Jensen says she's proud of how student athletes have represented USD as a Division I school. Last year, only 1 out of Jensen's 160 advisees was not eligible to compete due to grades.
On this week's More Sports, commentator Taylor Moore is disappointed with how one professional basketball player handled his career.
Being a professional athlete is something that everyone can't do. The time, the effort, the hours of long, hard work, let alone the talent that makes a pro a pro. More importantly is the amount of time a professional athlete can spend playing professional sports. Jerry Rice played football for about 20 years, and in basketball, Michael Jordan was still able to play at 40. But everyone isn't so lucky. Anton Walker, a former NBA All-Star, just retired this weekend. Why? Because he couldn't play anymore. He's gotten so out of shape that he doesn't play anything like his former Celtic days. My question to Anton is, why did you let it go on for so long? Why did you continually disrespect the game of basketball on such a high level? Now, Anton's stint with the NBA D-League's Idaho Stampede was done in order to show that players in their mid-30s can still play or ball out. Most NBA teams consider older players for their leadership and veteran-like qualities. Definitely not Anton. So I'd like to thank Anton Walker for finally hanging it up. Everybody can't be a Grant Hill, especially if you play like you're already over the hill. For more sports, I'm Taylor Moore.
Thanks, Taylor. And that's all for Coyote Sports. Coming up next, commentator Angelica Bracken searches for the right home in Vermilion.
This is Josh and his good friend Caitlin. Josh is the perfect coyote. So how can you be a good coyote just like Josh? Well, follow these simple steps. A good coyote always helps a friend in need. Josh doesn't mind holding on to Caitlin's purse. Don't worry, Josh. It's not that embarrassing. A good coyote is also a gentleman. Don't worry, Caitlin. Josh has you covered for your snacks. Hope you have enough money, Josh. She looks hungry. A good coyote also cheers for the home team. So it's no surprise that Josh remembers the most important rule: never date someone from South Dakota State. Follow these steps like Josh, and you'll be a good coyote. Go Yotes!
If you're searching for fall housing online, Angelica Brackens has a few words of warning in this week's commentary. The internet ads may not be as reliable as most students think.
Hey, what you looking up?
Just looking for a place to live.
Well, that one looks promising. 2-bedroom house, close to downtown, spotless kitchen, very open. That one sounds perfect. No picture though.
How about this one? 2-bedroom house. House has character. Perfect college house. Great for parties. No picture either though.
Well, just write down the addresses and we'll go check them out. Well, it certainly has character. I might finally get hepatitis if I live here, or bed bugs.
Now I know why there wasn't any pictures. I know of 2 other places. One's a fixer-upper, one has a critter problem. Well, it didn't lie about being very open.
Very open? There's nothing there. And spotless kitchen? Maybe because the kitchen doesn't exist. You might as well pitch a tent and call it good.
Come on, let's go check out the other one.
Is this a joke?
This place has bat problems.
Challenge accepted. Man, maybe I should just live in Coyote Village.
In this week's Out and About, we asked how the recent tuition increase will affect USD students.
I'll probably just take out more loans and maybe get another part-time job. I mean, I really had to consider whether or not I'd stay here.
I have to do payment plan as it is, so it just means I have to work more hours.
It's going to affect me going home more because I don't have that free money to spend on an airplane.
It's just going to mean that I'm going to have to work more over the summer to pay the difference of what student loans don't cover.
My financial situation is going to be a little different next year, so I'm just going to kind of have to wait and see how it goes.
It's going to be hard on us all. I probably have to work more hours over the summer just to make sure I have enough money to pay off the tuition at the beginning of the semester, and maybe work a little more during the year also so I have money to live on.
Well, with the 6.9% increase, looks like I'm going to be getting another job and applying for more scholarships.
Well, I'm going to be even further in debt than I already am.
There's no snooze button. If you unplug it, a battery takes over. As wake-up time approaches, you cannot reset the alarm time. It could be the world's most exasperating alarm clock. Once the clock goes off, to stop it, you must get out of bed, go into the kitchen or bathroom, and punch the day's date into the telephone-style keypad. It was invented by 25-year-old engineer Pale Samet. He started working on the gadget because after college, he was finding it hard to get up and make it in time for work. He built the prototype in his spare time and uses it every day. The clock sells for $350, and Samet already has 400 orders.
That's all for Coyote News. If you think this looks easy and you'd like to try out for Coyote News, auditions for fall anchors and commentators are on Friday the 20th and Monday the 23rd. Check out the MyU portal for details. Have a great night and a good weekend. We'll see you next time.